Please take your places. I'll just remind people who would like to ask questions, raise your hands, identify yourself to me or one of the runners with the mic so we can bring the mic to you. Don't wait for the mic before you ask your questions so that our audiences at home can hear your questions too. That said, it's a great pleasure to begin the press conference for Training Day, which is showing as a gala at this year's Toronto International Film Festival. We're thrilled to be able to introduce a number of the people involved in the film to you. I'll present them starting at the far end of the table with David Ayer, who's the screenwriter and one of the film's co-producers. Next to him, he was here 2 years ago with the film Snow Falling on Cedars. In the role of the rookie cop Jake, Ethan Hawke, a man who needs no introduction, Academy Award winner. He's also garnered 3 other Academy Award nominations. He was here with Devil in a Blue Dress, I think 4 years ago. Denzel Washington.
And Hurricane, too.
Yeah. And Hurricane, thank you. Glad to have you back. Antoine Fuqua directed the film. We don't have much time. Who would like to ask a first question?
That's it? All right, see you.
Yes, we have a couple back here. Can we get a mic over here?
Gloria Martin, 680 News. Denzel, what did you like about this role and what made you choose it?
David Ayer wrote a great script, tight script. You know, for me, usually if I go through a script quickly, you know, some scripts you read and it seems like you're reading it for 3 hours and you're on page 7. This was just like an unusual, different world, just very, very well written. It was as simple as that. And then when Antoine got involved and brought his slant to it and the way he wanted to do it and make it gritty and real, and it was real easy. We sat in a room and had lunch with Ethan, and that was that. You know, it was just like that.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hi, Denzel. Rudy Blair, 680 News.
Hey.
First off, we all know the character is a bad guy. So what did you?
No, he's not.
You know, what did you do? Like, what did you look for
He's
inside
not a bad
of you
guy.
He's
a good
to find
guy.
that gritty side? Let's call it that.
Uh-huh.
And 2, are you gonna be going to the Much Music Video Awards again? You were there last year.
I went because my man was there. Lenny was up here, and so I was shooting John Q. So I went with him. When is it?
Coming up in about 2 weeks.
No, I won't be there. No.
And what about the gritty part?
It was gritty. That was Antoine right from the start. That's what he was saying. He said he wanted this 70s kind of. You tell him. Go ahead.
No, we just wanted to keep it real. We wanted to make it, you know, realistic to the streets and, you know, the world that I know and the world that David wrote about, and, you know, we went for it the way that it is. It's the reality that I know. There you go. Gritty.
Just before we move on to the next question, I'd like to ask the photographers not to use their flashes during the press conference. I have a question over there. Sir.
Yeah, one of the things I found fascinating about the film was the depiction of the whole cultural environment in LA. How accurate is that? And did you have any trouble working with the people within those neighborhoods?
David? I'll take that. I think it's very accurate. I wrote the LA I know. You know, those are the neighborhoods I grew up in. Those are the neighborhoods I've experienced. And I've gotten a lot of questions about race and multiculturalism and diversity and all that, but there was nothing I ever had in mind because I just assumed that's the way it is because that's what I saw. I mean, as far as getting cooperation from the neighborhoods, I mean, there was a certain amount of diplomacy that had to be done because it's, in a sense, we're going into somebody's house, and you got to let them know that you're going to treat them with respect. And we didn't have any problems. I mean, people were saying that you can't go into these neighborhoods and shoot. No, we had absolutely no problems whatsoever.
Thanks. Madame.
Diana Mendoza, Mexican newspaper El Universal. This is for Mr. Ayer. You had some inside knowledge of how it was in Los Angeles. How much did it change, and how much drastically did it change after you got really involved into the research process with the cops and all of that and the criminals? And for Mr. Hawke and Denzel Washington, Mr. Ayer said that he likes the process where one can go and come back a completely different person over a period of 24 hours. Was this movie something like that for you? Are you coming out of this movie a completely different person?
I'll take the first part of that.
I forgot the first part.
I mean, as far as research process, the process, again, it was something I lived in a great sense, and I'd hear stories on the streets. You know, there's lore the gangbangers would have about how the cops are operating, and again, things I saw with my own eyes, my own experience with law enforcement. I went and talked with an LAPD sergeant, internal affairs detective at one point, who kind of showed me the tip of the iceberg and let me know that there's 90% hidden. And drawing that picture, figuring out what was going on, really wasn't that difficult. I wrote the script in '95, 4 years before the Rampart scandal broke, and at the time people said I didn't know anything about law enforcement, and the script was kind of a little ahead of the curve for them. But I just kind of let real life inform me.
And as far as changing my life, I think this is the appropriate time to make the announcement. From now on, I'd like to be known as Geronimo.
Question at the far end over there, and while we're waiting,
Did it change my life? No. No, it's a movie. When I had children, that changed my life. When I got married, that changed my life. This is a movie.
Denzel, it's a different role for you. You've always had very strong roles, heroic roles, but this is a role with grit, with a negative edge to it.
Isn't it lovely? And it's sexy, isn't it? That's what we always would say. It's sexy. Like I said, the bottom line was, and people have asked me, you haven't played a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. He just wrote a good script. And I wasn't going to let anybody else get it.
Right.
It was as simple as that. It was too good. It was too good. And yes, I was thinking it was in my mind, from doing press conferences and junkets where people say, well, you're always a noble, virtuous, blah, 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 blah. So I read this, I said, oh man, this covers all territories, and I still feel, Moses or whoever said it, the wages of sin is death. That's the first thing I wrote on the cover of my script, is the wages of sin is death. So once I had that in my head, I was going to make sure that this guy earned what he deserves. So I wasn't afraid of it. I was ready. Let's go. Can't wait.
Yes, madame, do you have the microphone?
Hey, just wondering, there was an amazing connection between Denzel and Ethan and the characters in the movie. Just wondering how you guys got comfortable with each other. If I can hear from both you guys, like how you worked on that interplay.
We dated for a couple of years.
I was ready to go right down there. We can make this announcement. We're leaving our wives. It was cool. And we talked about this. We're in that car a long time. And when we were going and meeting actors and this and that, we were like, look, whoever's in that car with me has got to be good, or I'm not going to be any good, or the movie's not going to be any good. So it was real easy because Ethan is good. He's a very, very good actor, and he's a very nice person. So we got along well, and we had fun. There wasn't a lot of air in the car sometimes. We lost our minds. We were going nuts sometimes. But we had a good time. I mean, we got the tour of LA. We were everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah, for me, I'd be a little shy with it, saying it with him right here, but Denzel's a great actor. It's a privilege for me to be in this movie, and, you play a sport with somebody who's better than you, it makes you look better. And so it was a pleasure for me every day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Good afternoon. I'd like to address this question to Mr. Washington. What kind of preparation did you do for this character? And in any ways, do you relate or identify with this character?
Antoine gave me a book, The Dark Side of the Force, which was basically my preparation. I didn't meet a lot of cops because I figured there's not going to be anybody like this guy who would tell me what they really do anyway. Right. And I wasn't.
You didn't want to meet him.
Yeah, I didn't want to meet him. And I didn't want to pattern him after anybody. This is a guy who has lost control. I've been asked, is this an indictment of LAPD? Well, LA does not have the monopoly on crazy individuals. It could be Toronto, it could be Oshkosh, Illinois, it could be anywhere. This is a guy who's gone too far, who gets what he deserves. So I didn't really do a whole lot of research. I got more from gangbangers, really. You just absorbed. I mean, it was in the material itself, first of all, and we were in the environment. And I would hear, you know, things that even, again, the material informs you. You know, in order to catch a wolf, you gotta be a wolf to catch a wolf. So now I'm gonna be a wolf. I mean, if I was gonna do some research, I'd follow a wolf around and see how he acts. You know, it was easy. You know, I didn't meet any cops that dressed like I do. You know, like I did in the film. We met one guy, and I was already heading in this direction, who wore the jewelry and stuff, but he was in a different, you know, he was in homicide. You have to become a part of the streets to be effective. I got as much from the gangbangers, really. You know, I'm like, well, what is your relationship with the police? How does a guy like this operate? He says he's got his posse too. You know, he's got his gang too. And I asked one of the cops, I said, how do you stay alive? He says, by keeping so many informants out there in the street. Just like you may be coming after me, you don't know whether I know about it, and I will be coming after you. And one of the guys said, and if I'm coming after you, that's that. Right. You know, it's the streets, it's kill or be killed.
Antoine, was it easy? Were there parts that were harder?
The fun came from working with Denzel and Ethan, and sitting down with David, going through the script. That was honestly one of the best times of my life, because the energy that I got from Denzel and Ethan and David, it was purely creative, and it was only about telling a great story. The hard part was dealing with everybody else. You know, the gangbangers are great. The people in the neighborhood were great. Even the undercover cops that we had there that were part of security, it was great. It's just hard to get anybody to want to make this kind of movie, because it's so gritty and so real. And the last time they made films like this was in the 70s. And you know, these films aren't necessarily that box office, you know, guarantees. It's really just about a character study. So that part was fun. Dealing with people telling me I can't shoot in these neighborhoods and I'm gonna get killed, and risking everybody's life and all that kind of stuff. That was difficult, because you have to be on the streets, and you have to know these people to know that, you know, the war is not against us. It has nothing to do with us. So that made it difficult.
Thank you. Question in the fifth row. Madame. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I broadcast for Italian radio and television, Mariangela Castrovilli. I have two questions. I have three questions. One for Ethan, one for Denzel, and the other one for the director. Ethan, from acting to direct, you have your own movie, you directed a movie, okay. Many years passed from which we saw last time in Rome, After Beautiful, do you remember? Many years ago. And Denzel, do you know something about the Italian cinema, and which is your favorite director, Italian director? And for the director, Antoine, with which actor will you work with? Italian. First, Ethan.
What was the
With
Will I work with Italians?
If you want to work with Italian actors, if you know some of them.
Would I work with Italian actors? Yeah, possibly in my next movie, or maybe working with Monica Bellucci.
Oh, yes, she lives in France now.
Yeah.
Okay. Ethan, you're acting, you're directing.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, I don't know.
Kind of experience. I mean, to be an actor, to be a director, it's. I think
we were in Venice last week. You should have been there.
Yeah, we were at the Venice Film Festival. You know, directing for me, I've said this before. Really, just the best experience for me is I started acting when I was 13, and it really reawakened in me a desire to act. It was the biggest surprising thing I had out of the experience. Is it really made me value what actors do. I had never seen it from that angle. So that was the kind of most defining experience there.
Fellini's not too shabby.
Dancer, but is passed out. So, what about another director? What you would
I like Fellini.
Work? I beg your pardon?
Well, you asked me who I like. I told you.
Oh yes, but also with.
Fellini. That's what I like.
And what do you think about television?
What do I think about television?
Yes.
What is it? RAI, right? I like some of those shows. I like those game shows, boy. I made a movie, and it's true. I made a movie in Much Ado About Nothing. We shot in in the town Greve, outside of Florence, and I didn't know what they were saying, but they had some beautiful girls on those games. I would just sit there, I don't know what they're saying, but no, it's true. It's a true story.
Question in the back row.
Denzel,
Yes.
question for you. From Hurricane Carter to Corrupted Cop, what kind of roles you find challenging, the most challenging, and what event in your life you find the most challenging?
Well, I'm getting ready to start directing the picture in 2 weeks. That's a pretty challenging event. I'm an unemployed actor. I don't know what I'm gonna act in next, and I'll see. I don't know. I'm not looking for anything. I wasn't looking for Training Day. It came across my desk and I responded to it. So I don't want to put limits and say I'm looking for this next. I'm looking for good material and something that's interesting and and different. I'm not looking to be a cop next, that's for sure. I'm looking to do something different.
What's your passion in life?
Food. My children. Italian women, you said? Okay.
While we're waiting for the mic to get back to the next question, I have a question for David and Antoine. You show this within the cop society schism, the war that's going on, in a relationship that brings back other conflicts of that sort of level. I'm thinking of the Vietnam War, I'm thinking of the civil rights movement. Do you see it in that light?
David?
In a sense, I mean, there is a very real battle on our streets. We have this war against drugs, but how do you fight a war against a substance that can be grown on any arable land? Until there's no way to eliminate the marijuana plant, the cocaine tree, or the opium poppy, and we basically locked up a higher per capita ratio of our population than any other country. We got more coke than ever coming across our borders. We're spending over $1 trillion a year on this stuff. We've lost our civil rights. Obviously, this isn't working. We got to quit attacking our own neighborhoods and our own people. And now that we're bringing in the military, we're just assuring that this level of corruption that we're experiencing in our police departments translates into the military realm. So our premier armed forces are going to be destroyed by the drug war too. I think we need to alter our strategy. Price of coke is cheaper than ever. It used to be $60 a gram on the streets in LA. Now it's $50 a gram on the streets in LA, adjusted for inflation. I mean, it's just dropping. It's not working.
Antoine, you?
It is a war. I believe it's a war. It's our own internal war, especially at home. Other countries have their own problems, but it's the worst kind because it's the people that are supposed to be protecting us that we give the power to, that are becoming the monster that they're supposed to be destroying. And that's a scary thought, because these are the people that we trust and we let into our homes, and we want them to come and protect us when we have problems. And sometimes they take advantage of, people take advantage of that. So that's a big problem.
Thank you. There's a question in the back, sir.
Mr. Washington, yesterday you said on the red carpet that you really like Toronto and this festival. I would like to know, why do you like this festival?
Well, I like Toronto. I made 2 pictures here, Hurricane and a picture that comes out in February called John Q. I like the people and the diversity of cultures, and I like the food. And the enthusiasm that was out there last night. I mean, we just came from Venice, and New York has a big film festival and other places, but this feels like it, to me at least, it feels like it belongs to the people, which is why we're up here. We're making movies for moviegoers, for the public. It's not too highfalutin, if you will, and artsy, if you will. It has that too, but it feels like you can touch it and feel it and be a part of it, and it's exciting. It makes me want to continue to do what I do.
Thank
I
you.
like the restaurants.
Sir, here.
Philip Twilecki from cinematicgroupx.com. Question for Mr. Washington. What qualities do you look for in a director that you'd like to work with, and what was it about the director of this film that made you want to participate?
Well, you know, there was a director connected to this film before Antoine, who's not connected to it now, Antoine was just the man for the job, you know, and some certain people didn't want him, quite frankly, you know, and I said, if you want me, I want him, then you got to want him. And I just had a sense that he was the right guy, and especially once I sat down with him and understood that he was going to elevate the material, not just in his abilities as a filmmaker, but because he's from the streets. He knows what he's talking about. He was sitting me down with this guy and that guy, and we're gonna go there and shoot it where it really takes place and make it real. And that was exciting to me. And I give him and David all the credit. I said it before. You know, they fashioned a heck of a film. You know, and Ethan and I are lucky to be a part of it.
Plus, I paid Denzel quite a bit.
I didn't want to tell him that part. No. It just, you know, it just is. You know, you never know. You know, I made 30 films, and I expected every one of them to be great, and it doesn't happen often. You know, it's a collaborative effort, and everybody can have the best intentions, and it still not work. Well, this one works. You know, and you know, we're just riding it now. We'll see what the public says about it. You know, they're responding to it.
Ethan, can you tell us a little bit about your preparation for the role?
Sure, yeah. You know, I mean, I had never played a police officer before. You know, it's a whole kind of genre of movies and things that I hadn't really been a part of. And really, I really wanted to. I just kind of spent a long time waiting for the right opportunity where I could do one that might be a little different. And I spent a lot of time, you know, Antoine and David. David was the greatest resource material. You know, obviously you've heard him speak today. He's a very intelligent man, comes from the area, knows these people, and was a great ally and resource for me. And as was Antoine. And Antoine facilitated for me opportunity to meet a lot of different police officers from the LA area, as well as, because I live in New York, as well as some people in New York, to get to just kind of have some familiarity with that world. And that was very helpful to me. And then the rest is just acting.
Thank you. Sir.
This question's for Mr. Washington and Mr. Hawke. Could you comment on the fight scene? It looked very complex. And could you just talk about the choreography?
He took a beating. He took a beating, boy. Again, you know, Antoine wanted it rough and gritty and not too Hollywoodish, you know, setting punches up. You know, I don't know who came up with that idea of unloading the gun. Was that written in the script? Yeah. It's probably written in the script where he unloads, he twists his arm and unloads Ethan's gun, and you know, we had good stunt guys. I mean, the stunt guys were great, and it's seamless. You can't tell who's who. But I can tell you, I didn't jump across that roof, you know, but I wasn't jumping over there, you know, but I don't know, we just kind of worked it out, you know, we just worked it out. It wasn't all set. We didn't plan the whole thing. He just knew he wanted it rough, you know, throwing him through a window, and I don't know how he survived.
Antoine rooted this whole movie in reality. I mean, that was his you know, desire every day, and even within the fight was to try to, you know, satisfy what the story needed at the same time without compromising the reality that he'd worked so hard for the rest of the movie.
I mean, we had everything in there but biting. That was the other. That's about, you know, and that's what a fight is. Fighting is winning. Yeah. It ain't, you know, it ain't boxing and choreography. It's about winning. You know, we should have bit him. Yeah. You know, I should have. What was that movie? In The Godfather, that was one of the great parts of The Godfather when you bit my man's hand. Should have got that in there.
Oh, we had a lot. We had a lot more. We took some out.
Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty vicious.
Yeah.
Thank you. Question over here.
Mr. Fuqua. Mr. Fuqua, your secondary characters seem very real, very legitimate. I was wondering, did you use the community resources, any real gang-type people in the film?
Everybody's real. Everybody's real except for the actors that you know. Everybody in the movie's real.
It seemed that way.
Yeah.
I'm real too.
Well, these guys are real too. I mean, but you know.
Right here.
Yeah, Bone is
Yeah.
Bone.
Yeah, Bone is Bone.
Bone is really named Bone.
Yeah, those are real Bloods and Crips and all that, you know. All the children in the movie live in the neighborhoods that we were in. And we really wanted to do that. It was most important for us to, outside of just filmmaking and everything, we wanted the community and the kids to see positive images of us making the movie. I wanted them to meet Denzel and Ethan and David and myself and, you know, maybe get inspired about writing or directing or acting or cameraman or grip or whatever. I just wanted to make sure they had an opportunity to see that and actually shake their hand. And I couldn't find these guys half the time. He would be over there like eating some food on somebody's porch somewhere, and, you know. And it was just like, it was a great time. It was really exciting. And I'm glad we got to do that for the kids.
Hey, 99.9% of these folks are good people. They're just hard-working, regular folks. You know, it's not, I mean, people make it sound like we went to some other planet. You know, these are just good people, most of them. You know, they're bad people anywhere you go. They're on the street and they're in the police department. You know, and again, the overwhelming majority of the police are good. You know, this is about a guy who isn't. You know, this is not an indictment of the LA Police Department, and the LA Police Department, as I've said, does not have the monopoly on crooked cops. You know, there's just as many in Toronto, I would imagine, you know, or anywhere else you go. It has to do with the individual.
Right.
Training Day opens on September 21st.
To
That's
Mr.
all our time. I'm sorry we don't have time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.